You do have the honor of being the first combat wounded veteran
Oh yeah.
to come on the show.
There
Yeah,
you go.
I've had let's see if this is episode 5. I've had 4 veterans, but we were all hurt like stateside,
Right.
like myself. But you were injured in 2004 in Baghdad.
Yes, sir.
We just briefly
Yeah.
kind of
Yes.
go over that moment of your life.
Yeah.
Bring it up again.
No. I have no issue with it whatsoever. It's fine. Yeah. So that particular day, we were actually pulling security for a PSYOPs patrol that was working in our area. We'd been out for a long time on foot, and they're doing their thing, and they use us for security because they want to appear non-threatening. So they usually sling their weapons and take their helmets off and all this. And so PSYOPs patrols are generally pretty easy. The mood's generally pretty good, and it had been all day, but we'd been out in the area for about 5 or 6 hours, and we were probably getting a little complacent by that time. And when we were walking back to our patrol base, I'm not sure exactly what spurred him to want to check something out, but my lieutenant saw something in this alleyway that he wanted to check out. And so we had gotten about, I don't know, 20, 30 steps. I was at the rear of the patrol, and I got about 20 or 30 steps in this alleyway, and I heard these. If you ever have been around grenades, and we got hit by a lot by grenades, but there's an audible noise that happens when the spring pushes the spoon off of it. It's very metallic. You know what it is.
It's kind of like the distinction of like AK-47.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like
It's
PKM,
like on the movies when the M1 Garand spits its clip out when it runs out of ammo.
Yeah, it has that ping.
Right. And so I heard this behind me, which was not a big surprise since we got hit practically every day by grenades. But I looked back, and there were 2 guys at the end of the alleyway, and those are the guys that hit me. And but I did not see. They were close enough that the one guy had on a black FUBU shirt, and I could see the FUBU logo on his chest. Yeah. And they threw 3 grenades at us. The first one is the only one I saw, and I heard it whirling over my shoulder, and I could see it. It didn't hit me, but then the next 2 were kind of aimed at me, or at least in my general area, and they went off sort of right up under my feet.
Yeah, did you lose consciousness?
I was awake the entire time. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
What was that sensation like? Because no one gets to really experience that and live to tell the story.
It wasn't painful like you would think it would be. I mean, my legs weren't gone completely. They were mangled.
Yeah.
But I was able to stand up. Like I still, there were enough there that I could stand, because it's your just natural instinct.
And you're just fucking probably just loaded with adrenaline.
Oh yeah, totally.
All these endorphins just going off in you.
And so the first thing I thought was to stand up and check my fingers and toes, right? So I'm moving them, and it didn't feel right. And I looked down, and I could see it. It's just like, I remember thinking it was nothing like the movies, because there was no like spurting. It looked like someone had put a water hose filled with blood down the front of my shirt, and I'm just dumping out onto the ground. I mean, the way they hit, I had both my femoral arteries severed, and my brachial in my armpit was severed. So I'm just pouring blood out.
Yeah.
And that was a little shocking. And I look across, and there's my buddy had dove into a storefront, and he was just kind of coming back out. And I started talking to him about, I started yelling at him, because you're supposed to yell medic, but he was the first person that I saw,
Yeah.
And I took a few steps towards him, because he is, I know I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't hear my own voice. I couldn't hear anything but that ring, in my ears at the time. It was like the volume on the world had been turned down except for this ringing in my ears.
Yeah, it's kind of like that opening scene in Saving Private Ryan.
If you've ever, that's exactly how I tell people. There's a scene in Saving Private Ryan where a guy's in a building and they shoot a rocket into the building, and then it shows from his perspective, sort of stumbling back out of the building.
Yeah.
And I said someone who had been in that situation had to have advised for that scene, because that's exactly what it was like, you know.